Water Board meeting to order. Do roll call.
Chairman Wilson,
I am here now.
Board Member Evans,
Here.
Board Member Nesser,
Present.
Board Member Schroeder.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Agenda items. Mike, discuss the budget.
Good evening, Chairman Wilson and members of the board. I'm just going to give you an overview of our proposed 2022-23 budget, our proposed rates and fees and charges changes that we'll be looking at for next year. Just an overview of our classification and compensation plan for the following year, and then also a budget schedule review at the end. So this is a summary of our budget. I can use my pointer here. Here's our 2021 budget. These are actual numbers that we spent that year, roughly about $5.8 million. We budgeted this past year at $7.1 million, and we did not do some of our capital improvement projects due to the fact that we're working on the state land down south with large improvements down there, so we didn't do some of those improvement projects, so we're actually projected to be under budget this year, only spending $5.9 million. So we move into next year. We're proposing a budget of $13.7 million. A lot of it will be our operating revenue is staying the same, going up a little bit. We'll be adding some new positions because of state land development. We'll be using some of our reserves to do some of our capital outlay to the south of what projects we didn't do this year. We're extending them into next year, so just working through some of those things. So we're proposing still a balanced budget, but using some of our reserves that we have for next year. Some of the big projects that we're looking at is to build a raw water pipeline from Superstition Area Water Plant to the sewer district. It's roughly $750,000 to run a 16-inch pipeline between the two. We're also looking at drilling a well on Superstition Vistas to do aquifer storage, so pump some of our raw CAP water into the ground or effluent so that we can use that in the future. We're also looking at purchasing radios for our existing service connections. We've been the last 3 years doing a pilot program with some of our new subdivisions, which was Belagave and Goldview Estates. What this will allow us to do, and this has all been based on a water conservation grant, is today we read meters every 30 days. With a radio, we can put up a tower and read meters every minute, every 5 minutes, every hour. So similar to your SRP bill, you can see what your demands are that day. And if you use a certain amount of water in a day, it actually alarm us and tell us, hey, they may have a leak. So rather than waiting 30 days to know somebody has a leak, you can notify them in with 24 to 48 hours so they can fix that so they don't get a large water bill and save on that. So working through that. All the new development to the south will be on those radios and have a tower down there. So that will be taken care of, but we have to go back and retrofit our service connections in our existing area. We'll also be looking at designing and constructing a new booster pump station at booster station number 2. Over the years, we're slowly growing here at Apache Junction. Roughly about 8 years ago, we put in a tank. We never improved the booster pump station at that time, so we're slowly making those improvements at that location. We also are looking at improving our utility billing software. Currently, we're on AS400, which was developed back in the 1980s. It's had a good run of almost 40 years here, so it's time for a new software. The utility billing that we're looking at is part of the city's Munis package that they have already existing, so it'll tie directly to our financial package and reduce some of the work that we have to do to get between the two softwares currently. Another part of the next year's budget is CAP fees will be going up for the O&M fees and also your capital fees, roughly about $40,000, just in the same water that we currently have. We'll still be working with Salt River Project on the Verde River sedimentation mitigation, another $100,000 as part of that, to sit at the table with them to decide where the water goes in the future for that dam as they move forward with it. And then we're also still purchasing our non-Indian agricultural water over the next 5 years, and we're in year 2 of $325,000 a year that we have to pay for that, for the back capital charges over the last 25 years that they've had it for. Do you guys have any questions over some of those larger projects we're working on?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson, I have a question. If you go back to your last slide, no, the one before it. Educate me a little bit, because I'm not a utility expert by any means of anything. But 1 and 2,
Okay.
for us to build the pipeline and drill new wells, why is it the city's responsibility and expense and not the developer to do these things?
Okay. So these are things that are going to help the entire district. This is not just for that
Okay.
development.
Okay.
Okay. So the first project is actually move raw CAP to water from our plant to the sewer plant, which is building, the developer's building infrastructure to pump raw water down to their project. The second one is to drill a well so we can recharge that water into the ground. So they're building all the infrastructure required to service water to their development, but not to save water for the future that we are doing for all of our customers, not just for that development.
Okay.
So those credits, I'm sorry, Your Honor,
Go ahead.
on the credit part, the number 2 piece, that will actually be credits that we can utilize for the entire system?
Correct.
Okay,
So like, drilling a new well, I mean, is that, we're talking about a new water source for the Superstition Vistas?
Correct. So not just for Superstition Vistas, for everybody throughout the development. So initially, since right now we have our surface water plant that we're okay with, we don't have that much development going on that's gonna need a new well, so we're gonna use this well to put water back into the ground currently, so we can keep storing it. So as the Colorado River, if we get more reductions and go into different tiers, we can suck that water back out in the future, so
So we're not trying to tap into new water, we're trying to just make a well for the water to go to?
correct.
Okay.
like a savings account? Is
Yep.
that how you describe it?
We're building our savings account to put it underground so that we have it, so if we do get that shortage and we have to reduce our production from the surface water plant, we have another source in the ground that we can pump out of, rather than just pumping groundwater that's never been there before. So we're trying to help that aquifer out.
I mean, is there a possibility to hit new water by drilling this well?
Oh, absolutely. There'll be water in this well. We're going to use it as a production well in the future, but currently we don't have the demands to pump it out because we're using renewable resources currently. But if we ever do have a reduction or system grows so big that we have to, we could utilize it for a production source.
So it's kind of like a straw that goes, you can push it in and then
Yeah.
same well, same straw?
Yep. So big sponge we're putting in the ground, mounding water there so we can suck it back out someday, so that we don't create the opposite effect where we're sucking all the water out and going to depression. So we're building that mound up so that it equalizes over time so we can suck it back out in the future.
Interesting.
Okay, anyone else got questions? Okay. Thank you. District Manager's report.
Well, hang on, I still got a lot more here for you. This is
Okay,
going to be an
all right.
exciting
Oh, he
night
said a
here.
lot.
He just stopped at that point.
I just want to,
He just got the first projects done, yeah.
that was the first projects, big stuff, big picture items we're looking at. These are some of the rates of what we're looking at, and a lot of the rate changes are not to build those projects. These are just to keep up with some of the charges that where we're going today. So these are our CAP water charges. So on the left-hand side is our operations and maintenance charge, which is the red line. And as you can see, it stayed pretty stable there from 2010 to about 2020. And as the Navajo Generation Station closed down, CAP has to reach out and purchase additional electrical supplies. We're using less water because they can't pump as much water down the CAP canal because there's not enough in the reservoir. So supply and demand, there's a huge demand, little supply, so those numbers go up and our pumping costs go up. So as you can see we have through 2021, we jumped up to 192. In 2022, we're at 240. And you can see it's just a steady increase as we go into the future because of the shortages that are going on in the Colorado River. The other one is the capital charge. As you can see, it was stable there again in the 2000s. It's slowly creeping up. We hit the $56 mark. There was some money that was reserved so that we didn't see huge rate increases. But as you can see, it's going to be in 2023, jumping up to $67 an acre foot. And it's going to slowly kind of just level out there. I'd imagine it may climb as water gets more scarce also. So as you can see, there's big impacts over the last 20 or 10 years here as we go in another next 10 years as water increases in price for us. So again, we're just trying to get our revenues and expenses to match, sensible and reasonable and balanced through the whole water district. So we're going to present some changes to our rates as part of that, so we can cover some of these costs of raising water prices and raising electrical prices and different things that are out there. So currently, we have a base rate of $27.24. So we have two different rates that we charge our customers. The base rate is just for having a service connection, a 5/8" meter. It would cost you that dollar amount without using any water. That's what it's going to cost you. So that costs us to read the meters, do all our maintenance on our pipelines, to do all our maintenance on our tanks, our surface water plant. That's what that is for. The other side of it, we have a commodity charge where when people use water, we have to produce more water, so we have to pay for the electric, chemicals, different things like that. Over the years, our commodity rate has been higher than most other cities, so we've been stabilizing that rate and slowly raising our base rate to be in the average of where other cities are at also. This also helps kind of get a base flow for us when our winter visitors are gone. We still have a charge that it kind of keeps our rates flat so that we don't see an increase when they come and decrease when they leave. So, or the opposite way. When they leave, decreased water usage, our rates would go up and then would go back down. So we're trying to average that out. So what we're proposing this year, again, what we've done probably for, I believe, for the last 3 years, is a 5% increase to the base rate. No changes to our tiers, which are currently 0 to 4,000, 4,000 to 7,000, and then 7,000 and above. So our tiered rates are for water conservation. So as you use more water, your price of your water goes up. And we're not recommending any changes to those. And then also the tier rates, our consumption rates, we're leaving those the same. If you live outside the city in a county or county island, you pay less in taxes, but we're recommending a base rate increase of 5% and a consumption rate of 5% increase, but no changes to our tiers. So what does this look like, I guess, in the overall scheme of things? So if the average customer uses about 7,500 gallons at their residence, so this is for a 5/8" meter. The existing customer's average water bill would be $68.52. With these proposed rate changes, the base rate would go up, those dollar amounts are like roughly about $1.50. So it'd be $70.02, so a difference of $1.50 increase to customers inside the city limits. So keeping it pretty small, it's 2.5% increase. Inflation these days is over 10%, so we're trying to not keep up with inflation, but keep up with some of our expenses also. If you live on a county island, the increase is a little bit different. So existing customers pay $76.70. Our proposed increase is 5% to both the base rate and consumption rate. So it's roughly about a $4 increase to if you live on a county island, or if you use 7,500 gallons a minute, or 500 per month, sorry.
Per minute.
Yeah, that's a lot, sorry.
That's a lot.
Here's the difference between the two. So if you live in the city, your water bill would be roughly $70, and if you lived in the county, your water bill would be roughly $80.
So Mike, how do you, small household, 2 people?
So the average household is 2 to 2.5 people, yes.
So, but you have small household for these prices, and is that based on like 2 people?
So it's a 5/8" meter, which you can do 25 gallons a minute, but that's on your average home. So anywhere between 2 to 4 people would be at the house. Typically here in Apache Junction, we don't have a 1" meter until you're looking at a like apartment complex, a 4-plex, or something larger. But a residential home is a 5" meters. That's what we're talking right now.
Okay.
Any questions on this one? So this is our residential system connection fees. We do have ones for different levels, but currently a single family, so our system connection fees, let me take a step back here. System connection fees are paid for infrastructure, buildings, new vehicles, for new employees that are required because there's additional stuff going on, for building the booster pump station at number 2, because we have to expand it to service these customers, build that tank we built in the past. So build infrastructure above and beyond what's required just for that development to service the individual units that come in over time. So currently, our system connection fee is $4,700. We have done a study with Tischler Bice. Based on today's market with materials and prices where they are, they're recommending upping our fee to $6,900 per unit, almost. Multifamilies are recommending increasing, so we're anywhere between 15 to 33% because of the price of construction these days and materials and where we're going. This only affects new customers. It has no effect on our existing customers. So development really is the only thing paying for this, and it's really infill that we'll see out there.
I have a question.
Gail?
Why are manufactured homes cheaper, $1,100 cheaper? Because we have no more mobile home parks going in, but we have lots of land spaces that they will be single-family homes, whether it's a mobile home or not.
That's something we've looked at the past, and as you can see, we've made them the same in the past.
Yeah.
That's something we can look in before we adopt these rates. We can definitely have Tish or Vice take a look at that to see.
It's the
what the-
same animal.
I do agree. I think probably should remove manufactured home and put RV spaces rather than a manufactured home, because that is a different animal than that.
An
So-
RV space is, but a manufactured home is a single-family home.
Yeah, let's do that.
I will look, I'll talk to Tish or Vice and see what they would recommend before our next meeting.
I
We'll
don't
bring
care
back.
what they recommend.
Okay.
We'll come back with the
Sorry.
change, either clarification, because the RV space is,
Is
supply,
different.
demand is different. Multifamily, what do you all think about that? Does that make sense?
I totally agree with Gail. A mobile home, a manufactured home is the same as a home. It's a home. Same, two people, 2.3 people living in there, you know, or whatever the number is.
And I just
believe-
want clarification on the multifamily one, just making sure that's,
You know, the multifamily is kind of different.
yeah.
I still don't know, I don't know what the equation would be to equify that.
So,
Because that's for an apartment complex.
correct.
So all of these lease subdivisions that they're going to be building, is that considered multifamily or is that considered single-family?
It depends. So multifamily is more, how can I say it?
Duplex, fourplex?
Duplex, fourplex, apartment complexes, they're gonna use a little less water, that's why it's a little cheaper. But it depends on how they build it. Is it commercially zoned where they're leasing each spot? Or are we platting that as a subdivision? So we gotta be careful on how we do some of the new developments of, some of them wanna
Well,
be,
and that was my question, is because they're not individually owned. They're owned by the mega corporation that's building them, but they're leased homes. So are they,
This is correct.
and I understand what you're saying. It's like, but what are we going to consider them in the charge?
they would be considered multifamily. And this is per unit, not based on per, so they're gonna put a lot more units on that piece of property also. So
Right.
it kind of balances itself out. They're gonna use less water but more units, so they'll pay a higher price than the single-family unit individually if they had the same square foot, I guess. Because there's 4 units rather than just 1. Right?
I understand that part.
Okay.
The part that I'm confused on is these new developments that we're having. Are they going to be considered multifamily?
Single-family rentals? We can check on that, but I would say single-family is,
You know, because
yeah.
there's,
Is that the new development you're talking about? Not multifamilies, you're talking about the
Right.
single-family rentals?
right.
Yeah, so to me, the demand side on that is equal to single-family. So I don't know why we would think of it as different, Mike.
Right.
Well, and why I'm saying, like, the one on Broadway,
Right, we have
And-
2
and
going,
Winchester,
Meridian
yeah.
and Southern and Broadway, yeah.
okay, so they're going to have studio apartments, and they're going to have 3-bedroom detached homes. So,
So studio apartment sounds like one thing to me.
yeah.
And detached home sounds like a different thing. We'll just check with the land use assessments that are based on that and make sure we assess properly. That's a new,
It's something new
Yeah.
that we haven't
we just need to
considered
double check
before.
that.
I have another thought on
Demand
that,
side on that.
and I know nothing about this, but why isn't it the same each connection fee, no matter what it's to? I
Is
mean,
it-
why isn't a connection fee just a connection fee? If you're getting one or you're getting 10?
What they look at is how much water use is in each one of these. And it's slightly different for a single family versus multifamily versus manufactured home RV spot. So it's all based off the national averages for those types of homes. So like the average home, what they're putting in there uses 380 gallons per day. So the average multifamily, I have to look at the numbers again, but uses like 280 gallons a day because they don't have irrigation and different things as a single family. So that's how they're looking at it, is how much water do you use on an individual basis per day, and that's how they come up with these prices. So that's why they're slightly different for each one that we have up here.
Single family, demand on the systems or the major system is one based on higher number of people. That's one. To me, it's real clear. They are equal to, in my mind, water board and members of the board as manufactured homes, single family rentals. But we'll check on that. Multifamily, I think of apartments, I think of, a lot less people per area. And then RV space, but we just need to see if that chart's right, Councilmember Evans.
Okay.
But we'll update that. We'll do a review and
I just got,
before the next meeting.
did I hear you correctly? Just a second ago, are you saying that like in a single-family home, a family of 4 would use more water daily than, let's say, 4 families in a multifamily home because of irrigation?
No, but, so these are individually based. So per unit, you'd pay that dollar amount. So yes, so in total, a single family is 480 gallons per day, right? But if you're talking 4 units at 300 gallons a day, you're talking 1,200.
Sure.
So they have to pay all 4 of those fees, so times that times 4 for that. So that's why they pay a bigger fee, but less water used per individual apartment.
Gotcha.
Okay. This is a new fee we haven't had in the past. We have some development agreements with Revens and Blossom Rock, which is Superstition Vistas to the south. They will only be paying $509 for their system connection fee. And the reason for this is all the infrastructure is being built by them or by the new community facilities district down south. If they had to pay the fee, they're roughly paying about $10,000 to $12,000 per connection right now for all the infrastructure they have to do for water, between our new surface water plant, our expansion to it, the non-potable system, and all the transmission lines, and the new water campus down there. So they won't have to pay the infrastructure fee, but as part of the other fee, there's also, again, a building where we're housed to manage the district, where our maintenance workers are housed to take care of that. New vehicles for new employees because the district's expanding to take care of them. There's also equipment involved in that, so we'll need new backhoes and new equipment, and this is what takes care of the other portion of that. So that's why they're only paying $509 compared to the $6,900, because they're including the infrastructure as part of that. And these guys are paying for the infrastructure separately as part of their development. But it's in the development agreement, so we're covered on what we're doing down there. A water resource acquisition fee. So this is to purchase new water supplies. Last year, we raised it a large amount. This year, we're slowly raising that dollar amount up. As you guys are aware, the price of water is going up. We're still looking at additional water supplies to keep here in Apache Junction, like we're working on the Salt River project and different projects there. So slight increase, going from $30,292 to $3,486.
Your Honor. So this is the fee that I can refer to when we get asked, or any of us, about, well, how do you get the water? Where does it come from? We are actually doing what we can to make sure the growth really pay for itself, that it's gonna have to be coming from an area at some point. We have to pay more for it. It's a finite, or a small amount of resources. So this residential water acquisition fee is not going to our customer service or our current customers, but it's a protection or the ability to be able to go get the actual wet water.
Correct. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next is our classification and compensation plan. We've been working with the city on this. They'll be presenting some things, I believe, at the next city council meeting. But on average, we're looking at a 7.7% average increase to the compensation plan. There was also a 3.75 increase to our average health insurance plans. Those aren't the same.
Yeah.
So just like we tell our employees, that's 3.75% increase to your health care that you currently pay. So it's not your whole entire salary. So just to let you know, proposing to be shared between the district and employees right now. So we're working through that process, but we'll present more on that at the next meeting to explain that. The final thing, we need to plan for our upcoming schedule. So we have a tentative budget plan for May 17th. So we can review the budget again, go through the process. If you guys have more questions, clarify some of these things you guys have questions on currently today at 6 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. And then looking for a final budget and approval on June 21st at 6 p.m. here in City Council chambers. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yes.
I have one more, and I wish my brain would stop. But, so we're also building new townhome complexes.
Yeah.
So are those considered multifamily as far as those hookups, or are they single family?
So as long as they are more than one unit, they would be considered a multifamily.
Even though they're individually owned?
Correct. Because the building's a multifamily. It's a multifamily development. So I'll go back and work with Development Service to make sure that that's truly how they're.
It just seems wrong. I don't know how to equify it.
Yeah,
But it,
yeah. That's the one that's real in that middle, isn't it?
it really is. And, you know, some of those townhomes will be 3 and 4 bedrooms, where most apartment complexes have the 2 bedrooms. Some have 3, but most of them.
Do some cities have a bedroom? I mean, it seems like this is something we've talked about with them. I don't know, we need to kind of, because it seems like that may be the way to go at some point, like,
More
versus
so
what,
than
because we're getting so different,
Yeah.
so many different types of housing, and it's getting complex. You should just say apartments, right? But, you know,
But yeah, they're.
townhomes, condos can have as many as 4.
Yeah.
And when at that point, it could be argued they're the same as a single-family, 3-bedroom home.
Single-family home, yeah.
Yeah,
Whether
You know,
it's
based
connected
on
or
the-
not is irrelevant.
Based on the water
Right.
usage that you quoted for apartments.
Yeah, let me get back with Tish
Yeah.
Advice on that, and let me see how
Yeah.
they look at some of those different things and see if I can get you a better answer for our next meeting. And maybe I can explain it a little bit better and understand what they're talking about, and maybe it's different,
No, I
'cause
think
these are
it's
new
just
things that we're
something
working on.
that's-
yeah. It's
Gail,
not the first
We
time we've
haven't
talked about this.
had-
It's
yeah.
trying to sort this out, yeah.
Gail, the only difference might be is a house is usually on what? Let's just say a quarter of an acre on a housing lot, where on a townhome, you might only have a little teeny front yard and a patio in the back. You don't have a yard, you don't have side yards.
Yeah.
So you're using lots less water to, overall, you're not the water going into your house, but the water for taking care of your yard. There's a big difference there between I lived in a townhome years and years ago, a condo, situation, and you don't have yards to take care
Well,
of.
you don't have the yards, but you still have all of the common area and
Yeah.
the pool typically, and that too, which so does apartments.
But the
No.
difference there
It's-
is you only have one pool compared to a neighborhood, individual homes that everyone has a pool.
Right,
So on those cases, there are landscape meters and pool meters, and they get charged a non-residential rate for those also. So they do end up paying for some of those fees as
Yeah.
part of that.
Also, Mr. Chair, I think for common areas, that might be paid by the HOA, so that might be a separate charge.
well, and it's
So-
usually a separate meter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But then we've had it come up too with Arizona water, where the whole complex was on 1 meter.
Yes.
So, well,
We have some additional charges. These are just based on our 5/8 inch meter for a residential customer, but it goes up from a 5/8 to 1 to 2 to, an 8-inch meter, I believe, is almost $400,000 for the connection fee compared to the $6,000
Sure.
proposed.
it just seems
Yeah,
Kinda.
townhomes, condos.
not quite clear enough.
Mm-hmm.
We will clarify that for you at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, district manager's report,
No report, Your Honor.
district director's report, and we didn't ask for a treasurer report, so I guess we're just going to adjourn. Adjourn, thank you.